Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar titled Getting Started with Splunk. I'm Satyakshi from Spring People. We are India's largest enterprise training provider. Today we have our expert Mohammad Shahrukh Khan. He has a plethora of certification under his belt, including Splunk Power, Splunk Recertified Admin, Red Hat Certified System Administrator, AWS Certified Solution Architect, to name a few. With over a decade of experience as a senior security analyst, he has worked across MNCs like Accenture and HCL Technologies. He is an expert in Python 3, operating system, Windows and Red Hat Linux 7, tools like SIEM, Firewall, Blue Code Proxy, and Juniper, ServiceNow, etc. So in today's webinar, he will discuss how to tackle real-time security monitoring, advanced threat detection, forensics, and incident management with the help of analytics-driven SIEM. He will also throw light on power and versatility offered by Splunk domain along with its architecture. In the end, he will discuss how you can browse the Splunk console and search your data on it. If you have any questions during the session, please type it in the chat box and they will be addressed by Sheikh after the presentation is over. So without further ado, let's start today's session. Now, I would like to call Shahrukh to start the session. Over to you, Shahrukh.
Thanks, Satashi. Thanks a lot for the great introduction. So, guys, hi. My name is Mohammad Shahrukh. So, I think a good introduction has already been given by Satashi. So, without wasting much time, let me proceed ahead with the agenda. So, guys, today we have gathered together to discuss about SIEM, what SIEM is, and what Splunk is, how it is utilized, what is its advantage, and all those things. Okay, so I'm beginning the session. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. So let me proceed. So guys, before digging into Splunk, the important thing is you must understand what is SIEM. SIEM is the main thing under which Splunk is coming. So SIEM
Sorry to
stands for,
disrupt you, Shahrukh. Sorry.
yeah,
Can you maximize your screen? We can see
sorry,
only the half. Yeah.
sorry, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think it is good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So SIM stands for Security Information and Event Management. Okay. What is SIM? So if I speak in layman language, so just giving you an example so that you can correlate. So how we are having a separate domain of network security. In network security, we are talking about firewalls, VPN, all those stuffs, securing the network. Similarly, now we have a complete separate domain of SIM called Security Information and Event Management. What we are doing here, what is the definition of SIM? So in simple term, there is a company X. Just suppose an example, there is a company X. There are multiple devices present inside the company. There are router, there are switches, web server is deployed, database server is there, n number of things are there in the organization. Now what is the requirement? The requirement is we want to store all the logs at a centralized location, as well as we want to monitor all the logs for any kind of malicious activity and all those stuffs. That's where SIM is coming into the picture. SIM says that we have to store all the logs at a single location. We are doing real-time monitoring from it. We are storing that log also. That's what SIM is. Okay. Now this SIM is a complete domain. Similarly, how I gave you an example of network security. Under network security, we have checkpoint firewall, we have Juniper firewall, VPN, different type of VPNs are there. Similarly, in SIM, we have multiple tools. Splunk is one of them. Okay, there is Splunk, there is QRadar, there is ArcSight, there is Logarithm. There are multiple tools. I think around more than 20 plus tools you will find. Splunk is one of the tool under the SIEM domain. Okay, I hope I'm making sense to all of you. So SIM is a complete domain under which we have Splunk as a tool. Okay, so before going to Splunk, I just want to give you a brief about why SIM is required in the first place. what all are the advantages, why it is used now in the market, and why it is in demand. Okay, so first thing, all the data is in unreadable format. So we are talking about SIM, we are talking about real-time security monitoring. We have to monitor all the logs. Okay, I told you that in a company X, I'll deploy SIM, I'll deploy this Splunk or QRadar. I'll gather all the logs from all the machine at a centralized location. That can be done through SIM. Okay, that we are doing. But the question is, this data is in unreadable format. What I mean by unreadable is, so if you talk about a Juniper firewall, okay, what these devices are doing, again, I'm explaining in layman term. What these devices are doing, be it a Juniper firewall, traffic is passing through the Juniper firewall. Be it a router, traffic is passing through the router. Whatever activity is happening, all these devices are writing it in a log file and storing with themselves. Okay, be it endpoint, be it any kind of antivirus, be it any kind of router, switch, web server, whatever activity is happening on them, they are writing a log file. And through SIM, I'm capturing that log file and I'm storing it as centralized location. Now the thing is, previously when SIM was not there, okay, let's talk about the previous thing. When SIM was not there around 15-20 years back, now we have all these devices in the organization. If a breach happened at a web server, suppose some hacker hacked into a web server, being a security personnel, I have to go to that web server, gather the logs, analyze what malicious activity happened from where. Then I have to go to the router, then I have to go to different machine to check whether all the machines are infected or not. That was 15-20 years back. There was no SIM. Now we have SIM solution. All the data is available at a centralized place. Okay, I can just log into this Splunk, I can check all the logs. Now the again, the first and most important thing is, all the logs are in an unreadable format. What I mean by unreadable format is, Juniper firewall, for example, writing logs in a log file, it is using its own format. Checkpoint firewall is writing logs in its own in a log file, it is using a different format. Okay, they have different vendors, they are using their own format. Okay, so being a human without SIM, without Splunk, being a human, it is not possible for anybody or any of the human to understand each and every log file. A person can be expert in checkpoint logs, he can read the checkpoint log, or he can read any of the router logs, switches log, but he is not able to understand the endpoint logs. That's the main thing where SIM was required. We need a standardized solution where all the logs will be flowing and a single person can easily understand them. So that's what I mean by this, all the data is in unreadable format. This SIM is converting into a standard format where we can where any analyst or any person who is sitting at this Splunk console can just log into this Splunk console, can see and understand the logs of antivirus. He can check and understand the log of Juniper firewall, checkpoint firewall. There is no issue, okay, with this SIM. So I have just taken an example also. So this is an example of Cisco firewall log. So I have taken an easy example so that you understand. The first one is some IP address showing. Second, 23 is a port. Then session allowed is written. Okay. Then we have again some IP address, again some port, again some IP address. If SIM was not there, being a person of security team, I'm talking about 20 years back, I go to that checkpoint firewall, I check this log, I'll not be able to understand. Or if I understood, I'll be able to understood only this Cisco log, nothing else. If he gave me endpoint logs or antivirus log, I'll not be able to read it because I have to first learn it. Okay, so this is how a log look like. What these SIM tools are doing. So this is next. It is parsing the logs. We call it parsing, converting data that is in unreadable format into a human readable format is called as parsing. It's a general term we use in SIM. Okay, the what is parsing, again I'm repeating, the data is in an unreadable format, unreadable, unstructured. SIM tools are converting it into a human readable format, that is called as parsing. So here you can see the first IP address is now tagged with an attacker address. The second port is now tagged, the second 23 value is now tagged with an attacker port. Similarly, all the values are tagged. Now I can see, okay, I understood this thing. This is an attacker is coming from this IP address. His port is this. The session was allowed on the firewall and the target address was this. That's what SIM is doing. It is tagging information. Okay, so just an easy example. Second thing, why it is required. Again, we are talking about the advantages or the requirement, why the requirement of SIM came. So second point is we need a centralized storage. In second point, there are 2 points. The first thing is we need a centralized storage of all the logs. So again, I gave you an example in the beginning. A breach happened at the web server. I don't want to go there, or for example, if 20 years back this SIM was not there, breach happened on a web server in the organization, I have to physically go there. I have to check the logs, what happened, what not happened. I have to check all other machines, whether they are infected or not. I have to go to the router team. Please give me the logs of router. Okay, I don't want this scenario. I want the monitoring or real-time monitoring or any kind of investigation happening at a single place. That's the second point, centralized storage of logs. Second thing is based on the company requirement or compliance requirement. For example, if you are a health provider, health insurance provider, or health related organization, so you come under HIPAA. So these are compliance laws. HIPAA ho gaya. And then we have for payment industry, we have PCI DSS. They have their requirement that the data should be stored, for example, 2 years, 3 years, or if compliance is not there, your CEO will decide that this data needs to be stored for this much year for compliance purposes. Okay, based on the organization requirement, we have to store the data for a particular time. We can't store the data for whole duration because it will cost money. So the third thing, what I want to explain you is we have to set a retention policy, and this retention policy can be set by Splunk easily. So we are centrally storing all the logs. For example, I am gathering all the logs in my organization in Splunk. All the logs are centralized stored in the Splunk. Now the second thing is my management wants that the firewall related logs should be stored for 2 years. I can set a retention policy on Splunk that for 2 years store the logs. As soon as the data becomes older than 2 years, delete it automatically. Similarly, for email logs, he says that the email related log should be stored for 5 years for compliance purpose. I can set the retention policy easily on Splunk, QRadar, or any SIM tool. They support this. Okay, that is the third point, the retention policy. In second, I already told that central storage and retention policy. Now the third thing is the most important thing, guys. So here we are talking of real-time monitoring. This is the most important point why SIM was born. So we have to do real-time monitoring of events. So how the architecture, I'm just giving a basic overview, how a security operations center work, where this Splunk is deployed for security monitoring. So we have a big team of security postmen who are monitoring the logs at this Splunk or QRadar or whatever tool it is, SIM tool. They are doing the monitoring in real time. As soon as, for example, some person did a failed login on a server, on a web server, he tried the login 50 times with a wrong password. This will be detected by Splunk, and alert will be raised on Splunk that this server is having a failed login attempt from this username. So you can easily capture it. This is what real-time monitoring is. Whatever is happening in real time, it will be captured and it will be shown in Splunk console. That's what a real-time monitoring I'm talking about on the SIM. Fourth point, deep dive analysis. So this is already related to centralized storage, because see, all the logs are available centrally on the SIM solution. Okay, you can log to the SIM. Again, I'm giving the same example of a breach on the web server. A breach happened on a web server. You have all the logs available. Till now, whatever is happening, you are capturing on this SIM tool. A breach happened at 2 a.m. in the night. I have all the logs. Yesterday, day before yesterday, I can log into this Splunk. I can do a deep dive analysis, or you can say forensic analysis. Whatever happened, I can check the logs of router. That is before the web server. The firewall, I can check its log. I can check the web server log. I can check the antivirus that is installed on the web server, its log. I can do deep dive analysis. I don't have to depend on anybody. I have everything on my console. Just log into this Splunk, select your device, and search through the time range. You get all the logs, and you can do a deep dive analysis of all the logs. Okay. Fifth point, threat intelligence. So guys, these tools are now, this SIM tools are now offering threat intelligence. So I hope you are aware of threat intelligence. So I'm just giving a brief about threat intelligence. So threat intelligence, you can say, is the data, is a compiled data about the threats that are occurring in the world. So there are multiple companies, for example, VirusTotal. They are maintaining a threat database. They have their security team working at the back end, searching for new threats. They are adding the threat information in that threat database. Now, what this SIM tool can do, this SIM tool can integrate themselves with the threat database. They can capture the information about the threats, okay, in itself. And for if I'm giving you an example, simple example, so that you understand better. So threat intelligence, in threat intelligence, the main thing is IP address or file hashes. I'm sorry if I'm going deep dive into the security, and let's just take an example of IP address. So WannaCry, there was an attack happened WannaCry. So in WannaCry, what happened? If a machine gets infected, it tries to communicate to an external IP address, a particular IP address, for example, 1.1.1. Let's just take an example. It tries to communicate to that. It tries to exfiltrate the data from the internal organization to that IP address. Now, what this threat intelligence is doing, they are capturing this 1.1.1 IP address. They will capture, they will store in their database. Now, being a Splunk person, I can integrate my Splunk with that threat intelligence. Now, I have that IP. My Splunk is integrated with the threat intelligence data. 1.1.1. I have that IP address. Now, whenever a traffic on my Splunk, whenever the Splunk sees any traffic that is going to that IP address inside my organization, it is correlating data continuously with the threat intelligence list. It is correlating it. Whenever it sees any traffic is reaching to 1.1.1, it triggers an alert. That's what threat intelligence integration is with the SIM. It is continuously correlating data. You can integrate your SIM with the threat intelligence data. There are multiple open source website or the paid websites available. You can integrate your SIM tool with the threat intelligence, and you can utilize this threat intelligence to detect advanced threats or a very complex threat or different kind of threats in your organization. Okay. Next point. Alert creation happening at a single place. So I hope you have heard about ITIL. ITIL is a framework for service and incident management. So since everything is happening at a single place, you have multiple types of alerts created. You have all the data coming into the SIM. Now you have created multiple types of security alerts. All the alerts are created at a single place, guys. So whenever a breach happens, you are getting an alert from a centralized location, that is SIM. And since you know that an alert that a breach has happened, you can respond to the incident accordingly and more efficiently. Okay, so that's the thing. You are improving your incident response and utilizing SIM at its best. So we have reporting capability as well as dashboard capability. So we have all the data coming into the SIM. We have firewall related data, email security data. Apart from this, there are multiple things. Whatever device can generate data and send towards Splunk and ingest it. Based on the data, I can create very much complex or different kind of dashboards I can showcase to the management. For example, I'm receiving data from a web server of the sales that are happening on my company. I can put that data into a dashboard very easily through Splunk. That's where also you can, instead of security, not only limited to security, I can utilize it to showcase different kind of dashboards to the management. Okay, I can showcase them that this is the sales that is happening every day. This is the sale that happened in last 7 days. If you have the required data, you can manipulate the Splunk to create a dashboard. Okay, so, and the second thing is the reporting capability. I can fetch reports easily. For example, I want to see the data of a particular firewall. I have the IP address. If logs are coming from that firewall, okay, this is the first thing. Logs should be there in the Splunk. If logs are there into this Splunk, I'll write a query. Okay, I'll write a query. I'll put the IP address of that firewall, and I can get a report for past 7 days, past 2 days, past 3 days. I can do that also. I can fetch different kind of reports from this Splunk. Okay, and from this Splunk, or you can say SIM complete, all have the capability of reporting and creating dashboards. Moving to the next. So guys, you have seen this SIM domain booming from the past, I think you can say 10 to 12 years. It is booming a lot. one of the important reason, I'm not saying that this is the sole and only reason, in ISO standard 27001. So it's a security standard that most of the organization follow. So in this standard, there is a clause of centralized storing of log. Okay, this SIM is satisfying that clause very easily. So companies are rushing towards SIM solution to get a SIM solution so that they can satisfy this clause in the ISO standard 27001. So this is a security standard. So companies should be, you can say, audited based on this standard, and if they satisfy, they will be given a certificate of ISO 27001 compliance. So this is separate, just for information. I put that in the ISO 27001 standard, there is a clause of centrally storing the logs. If SIM solutions are clearly reaching to that point, that they are satisfying this clause, and that's the one of the reason that companies are buying to buy SIM solutions for their organization. So last point, sorry, the numeric is wrong, it should be 9. So the last point is it is easily integrated with ticketing tool. So I hope you are aware about the ticketing tool. So in organization, if you are following ITIL standard, so you should have service management and incident responses clearly defined. So here, most of the organization are using this ticketing tool, incident management, you can say incident management and ticketing tool. For example, ServiceNow, Snow is there. There is BMC Remedy. There is RT ticketing. So these 3-4 tools are there in the market. So what my SIM is do, my SIM can integrate themselves with these ticketing tools. How we are utilizing the SIM with ticketing tool is, so if I give a simple example, these ticketing tools are used by organizations to track a ticket. We have faced an issue. I raised a ticket on the ServiceNow. There are SLAs and everything. Everything is tracked into this ticketing tools. Similarly, how SIM is coming into the picture and how it is utilizing this ticketing tool is, for example, I have multiple alerts created on the SIM. Multiple failed, I'm giving just an example, for example, multiple failed login attempts, malware found on a particular machine, suspicious connection towards an external IP address. These 3-4 multiples are there. I'm just giving some example. So this ticket create this alert get triggered on the SIM, that this has been triggered. My team is monitoring it. Now, what I can do for efficiently tracking everything, that the incident has been raised, a person has worked on it, the issue has been resolved, and the ticket has been closed. That's where this ticketing tool is coming into the picture. I'll integrate my SIM tool with this ticketing tools. For example, this Splunk with Snow. So what happened, whenever an alert gets triggered in the Splunk, a ticket automatically gets created in the service now, and it will be assigned to the security analyst queue or whatever queue you want. It will be assigned to them and they have to work on it. So that's the one of the most important and most you can say very good use of SIM, that you are centrally creating a security tickets on the ServiceNow, BMC Remedy, and multiple teams are working on it accordingly. Okay. So guys, I think so. These are the one. Anything else? Okay. So guys, these are the 8 to 9 important features of SIM. Why it is required? You can say important features, the advantages of SIM. That's why this thing is getting used in everywhere. Okay, these are the most important advantages. So I'm moving next. So guys, so there is a question. So people gets confused in this thing. So whenever you are talking about SIM, Splunk, always there is a question: what is the difference between events, alerts, and incident? Okay, so every time you will see this. So I'm just giving a generalized overview. Events. What I called as event when I'm working with SIM or Splunk? Whatever logs are coming from the devices into the SIM, everything is called as an event. Okay. What is an alert? I'm using general term, not I'm giving specific to Splunk. I'm talking about generally for SIM. Whatever devices are sending logs to the SIM, it is called as event. Particular logs. Okay, particular logs. For example, a firewall owner made some changes in the firewall rule, it is an alert. Okay, it needs a little bit of attention. Someone has to see it, or whether this thing is legitimate or not. It's kind of an alert, specific log that need attention. And the last thing is the incident. So you can say incident is the thing that is going to disrupt the business. For example, a malware infection found on a machine. That will be an incident that a person has to resolve. Okay. So this is a basic overview and difference. Oh yeah, Gartner quadrant. So I just wanted to show you the journey of SIM, guys. Just give me 1 second. So just let me explain Gartner. So Gartner is an organization that is releasing reports, a detailed informational report about different kind of tools. So here they have seen the SIM domain, and they have calculated everything based on their parameter. They have calculated, and they want to define which is the best SIM tool in the market. So just give me a second. Let me open it. Oh. I think they have removed this page. Just 1 second. So I'm not going to show you each and everything. Let me just quickly show you from 2010, and then I'll take you to 2018. So let me zoom in, guys. This is the 2010. I'm just comparing different tools, showcasing you the different tools that are available in the market. This is the Gartner quadrant of 2010. Okay, I'm showing you different tools and where Splunk is standing right now. So here is the leaders quadrant. So whatever is present in this quadrant, they are the leader in their market, in the domain for the SIM. This is the challenger, or you can say second ranker. This is first rank, second rank, and then third and fourth. So you see ArcSight is at the top. Then we have RSA, LogLogic, Symantec, Q1 Labs, Novell, IBM QRadar, and different stuff. So in 2010, Splunk is nowhere available in the market. It didn't born yet, you can say, in the market. It doesn't hold a good share in the market. It is not there. So if I come to 2011, now you see Splunk is getting into the race. Splunk is there in the last quadrant, and HP ArcSight is at the top. Now let me take you quickly to 2000. I think this is for 2018. Let me show you 2020. So, so guys, this is the Gartner quadrant for 2020. This is the market share of Splunk. It is the leader right on the market. The second tool is IBM QRadar, just behind Splunk. And then you can see there are multiple tools. So right now, Splunk is standing at the top. It has occupied more than 60% of the market share, you can say. The reason from bottom to coming to top for Splunk is, first thing, it is very flexible. You can utilize it very easily. You can write different kind of query. Guys, I'm giving you pointers why Splunk is at the top, so that you understand. First thing is, it is very flexible. You can write whatever query you want, you can get the data. Other tools are not very flexible. They can write only specific queries. Only specific queries to fetch the data I can write. But in Splunk, I can be very flexible. Second thing is time to integrate. What I mean by time to integrate is, so when we are talking about these multiple different devices, okay, in the organization X, there are a router, a firewall, a number of things are there. These devices needs to be integrated with the SIM. For example, QRadar, ArcSight is there, Splunk is there, 3 tools, for example. It is taking me 3 to 4 months to deploy, to get the logs from all the machines into the ArcSight. It is taking 2.5 months to get the logs from all the machines in QRadar. But when I'm talking about this Splunk, it is very flexible, guys, very easy. Everything is available to us. It is taking me, you can say, around 1 month. That's the thing. It is very flexible, it is very fast, it is very easy to integrate. That is why it is captured in the market. And the fourth thing, the support from the Splunk, the support, Splunk support is very good. That's why they are capturing this much market share right now in the market. Yeah, so moving on next. I think this is the one slide is over. Uh, this is one part only, guys. I have one more slide. Just one second. So with this slide, we got an overview of SIEM domain, why it is used, what all things are there, how I can utilize it. We talked about this unreadable logs, parsing of logs, central storage, retention policy, threat intelligence, and multiple. We now have a clear understanding what this SIEM domain is. Now let's dig deeper into the Splunk. What is Splunk? What all things are there? How the architecture is. So let me close this slide. Move on to the next. So guys, this is the second slide. Let's just give me 1 minute. Okay. Now let's talk about Splunk. I already gave you the definition. What is Splunk? Splunk is a tool under the SIEM domain. What is Splunk used for? It can be used as a log storage solution. It can be used as a security monitoring solution. Okay, it depends on you how you want to utilize it. You want to monitor the security logs, you can do it. You want to store the logs only, you can do it. Okay, that's the main thing. Not only I'm talking from the beginning, I'm talking from the security related
Shahrukh, sorry for the interruption. Sir, sorry for the interruption. Can you make your screen big?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Because it's not here.
Yeah. So guys, from the beginning, I was talking from the security related perspective that you can integrate firewall and all those things. Not only firewall and these things. If you have any application you are testing as a developer, you are testing some application, you want to capture that data, you can also do that with the help of Splunk. You can send that data into this Splunk for storage. Okay. Not only from security perspective, if you want to use it as a log storage solution, you can do that. So, okay. That's what Splunk is. Now let's talk about what is present in these Splunk. We talked, okay, we have an overview that how I can utilize Splunk, what all things. Now let's dig deeper. What is there in this Splunk? So guys, there are three main important components of Splunk. The first one is the indexer. The second one is the search head. The third one is the forwarder. So let's see them one by one. The first component, forwarder. So what it is basically, I gave you an example of company X. There are, for example, 20 different devices, firewalls is there, antivirus is there, some web server, database server, a number of things are there. Now, I told you, I explained you that every server or every device is writing a log file. Okay, I want that log file into the Splunk. How to get it? I can deploy a forwarder there easily. Forwarder is, you can say, a very minimal or very lightweight application that will be residing on that server. For example, where the firewall is running, it will reside there, or where a web server is running, it will reside there. Okay, it will be residing there. It will be reading that log file, capturing that log file, and sending it to the Splunk. That's what forwarder is doing. It is reading log files. So here it is giving an example of, I think, Linux machine. So there is a Linux machine. Linux machine is writing, sorry, web server is there. Web server is installed on Mac. Web server is there as per the solution, as per the diagram of this penguin. So whatever web server is present, it is writing a log file. What I'll do, I'll simply go onto the web server. I'll deploy this forwarder. What forwarder is doing? Forwarder will be reading the log file, whatever is present, and will be sending it to the next Splunk component that is called as indexer. Okay, so it requires, this forwarder requires very minimal resource and a very little impact on the performance. So it's a very lightweight application. Moving to the next and the most important component, indexer. So guys, this is the heart of this Splunk. So this is the log storage, and this is the most critical component of this Splunk. There can be multiple forwarders present in the organization, and all of them will be sending logs to this indexer. So this indexer is kind of a storage. Okay, so it will be processing all the data, it will be storing all the data. So so people always ask during this, session where this parsing is happening. Parsing of the logs, converting of logs from from unreadable to human readable. So this is happening at the indexer. Forwarder is just capturing the logs and forwarding that unreadable logs to the indexer. When the logs are coming at the indexer, indexer will be parsing that log, converting into a human readable format and then storing it. That's the job of the indexer. This is the heart of the data, heart of the Splunk. This is where the data is present. Okay, and there can be multiple directories, multiple folders will be there. So yeah, and one more thing, sorry. So the data is compressed also. So it is not like that. For example, a Linux machine is present and it is generating, for example, just I'm giving example 1 GB of data. Forwarder will be reading that file and sending that 1 GB of data per day to the indexer. It is not like that. That indexer will be storing the 1 GB of data. It will be compressing it. The ratio is 0.5. So if 1 GB of data is present on the Linux machine, after compression, indexer will be storing only 500 MB. This is a detailed in-depth knowledge. I'm just giving you. Moving to the next component that is called a search head. So guys, search head, so as the name suggests, it is used for searching the data present on the indexer. Okay, this is where you will be, this is through which you will be searching data on the indexer. People will be logging into the search head. Okay, so if I want to give you an easy example so that you understand, just 1 second, let me open a notepad. It will make more sense then. Let me please so for example, this is a Linux machine. I'm just making examples so that you guys understand more clearly. Then we have another Linux machine, and then we have this architecture. There is one Linux machine. They can be Linux, there can be Windows. That's not an issue. Okay. Now I want the logs, and on top of it, a web server is running. Just an example, a web server is running here. This is a web server machine. Now what I'll do, I'll deploy a forwarder here. What forwarder will be doing? Forwarder will be forwarding the logs to this Linux machine where I'll be deploying my indexer. Okay, this is my indexer. Just a Linux machine where I have installed the indexer component. Now, whenever I want to search the data, all the data is present in the indexer. This indexer will be connected to a search head. I have one more Linux machine. I'll be deploying the search head here. So people will be logging into this Linux machine, logging into this Splunk search head, and they will be executing searches. The searches at the backend will go to the indexer and will fetch the data and show it to me. For example, if I want to see the past 10 hours of data, I log into the search head, I'll write my query, and it will go to the indexer, fetch the data, and show it to me here. That's a high-level thing how things are working with that. Moving again to the slide. Yeah. So there are more things. So this search head, on the search head, you will be creating dashboards, you will be creating reports, you will be creating your alerts. All these stuffs will be created on the search head. Okay. Multi-instance deployment, guys. This is how the architecture you will see in a larger organization. This one I created. So this one that I showed to you, it is for very small data. Okay, there can be one indexer, but if data is huge, you need multiple indexers in that case. People are huge. The person who are logging your, you have 100 people of a team. They can't log into one single search. It should be multiple searches. So that's how a distributed deployed architecture will look like. This is that example. And we have more data, more people to log in. So here you can see the indexers are multiple. It is in clustering. You can also include search heads in clustering also if you have multiple users. That's the end solution, how things will look like to you when you have a big organization, when you want to meet high availability or disaster recovery. You want to meet everyone needs. The data should be stored for a particular time. There should be no data loss. This indexer will be multiple in cluster. When there is a solution, or when there is a situation of availability, I want to every time log into search and I don't face any issue. Searched can be multiple in that case. That's a high level thing, how things are working in the organization. Okay. Yeah. Moving on to the next. Now the question is, what software do you install, and how to get an indexer or searcher, and how to get a universal forwarder, and where to get these things. Okay, so let me just take you to the website of Splunk. So guys, there is a Splunk website. Uh, so you can say, just for example, if I want to download an indexer or download, for example, a forwarder, I'll just type this download forwarder. Here is the website splunk.com, www.splunk.com. Let me click on it. See, Splunk Universal Forwarder 8.0.6. Guys, this website is available. So if you want to download any software or anything, you have to first register yourself. Okay. So get yourself registered here, and then you will be able to download this thing. So let me just show it to you quickly. So if you are a new user, just sign up and then you can log in. I hope I remember my password. Uh, uh, Sorry, I don't remember it. Yep. So this is where you can find the packages. Okay. And one more thing, guys, this is universal forwarder. The thing that will be deployed on other system to get the logs. Okay. If you want an indexer or a search head, so there is one more application. Indexer, you can say. Let's see. It is not showing a Splunk link. So indexer. Yeah, here it is. Download Splunk Enterprise. This is the one in case you want an indexer or a search head. Yeah. So guys, and one more thing, you can run this solution on your machine also. I'll show you in a bit how to run it on a machine. Download it, and if you have a laptop, personal laptop, you can install this solution also. Okay, I'll show you that also. Yeah. So slide. So guys, this is a brief about Splunk. What all things are there? What is its architecture? How the architecture look at the end? How indexer and searcher and the stuffs are deployed. Okay, this is a brief overview. Now let's move to the Splunk. Let me show you the console now. How things are working on the console, how you see a console, how things look there, what all features are there. Let's see it. Just give me 1 minute. So guys, what I did, so you can also do if you want. This is Splunk Enterprise 8.0.6. If you want to install it on your desktop, it is only 3 clicks away. Just download it. It will ask for agreement. Once you download it, when you install it, it will ask for the path where you want to install. Just click next. Agreement. You have to agree on the license part. Just click next. Splunk will be installed automatically. Okay. Once it is installed, if you want to access it, come to your browser, type localhost semicolon 8000, hit enter. This is Splunk running on my machine. License is expired because I'm using it for long. Let me log in here. So guys, sorry, so my license is expired. Once you log in, you will have a 60 days of free period where you can. Yeah. So guys, this is the console. How things will look like to you. This is how when you log in, there will be multiple apps here, multiple apps present. This is the search panel. Okay, so if we go to the settings page, here is the settings page. I want to add data, I want to receive data, I can configure it here. I want to create alerts, I can do it here. So everything is available on this console. This is a standalone Splunk running. Okay, this is a standalone that is running on my machine for storing the data, for searching the data, for very small use, not a production environment use. So if you want a production environment use, let me talk about that also. Just one second. About that. So let's talk about the licensing, how this licensing part is working. um, so whenever you are downloading this Splunk, okay, it is coming with a license called let's talk about types of license. So whenever you guys you are downloading this Splunk, it is coming with an enterprise trial license. It is valid for 60 days only, and you can ingest around ingest 500 MB only. This is for limited use, this enterprise trial license. So whenever you guys are downloading this one, it will automatically come to this. Now I am a big organization, I will be ingesting around 20 GB or 1 TB of data. Then I have to reach out to Splunk and get an enterprise license. So costing is involved and everything is there. So license we have to purchase from Splunk. Sorry, correct. So enterprise license you have to purchase. So it will be on year basis. Term license you can say. For example, you can buy it for 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, and there will be limit on the ingestion. For example, if you purchase for 1 TB, so you can ingest 1 TB of the data. Okay, so that's how this licensing is working at the back. Yeah, let's move to something else. One second. Let me show you the dashboards if possible. Just give me a second. License is expired. Please just give me a second. I think I have a license purchase. Yes, okay. So guys, sorry, I'll not be able to show you much. Actually, it's not a free application. It's a limited application. I'm not able to find the license that I purchased. License not there. I'll show you the search about this. So guys, my license has been expired. So this is how the console will look like. So it is asking me for a license. I don't have one. So what is happening in that case? I'll not be able to search anything. So this is a search and reporting app. So if I want to search anything, just have to type the query. For example, want to see some logs. I have ingested some logs here, but due to the limited capability of this license, I'm not be able to search. Yeah, license has been expired. Just give me 2-3 minutes more. If I'm able to find that license, I'll show you something here also. One second.
Shahrukh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Ashish.
yeah.
Oh, there is I
Yeah.
guess, some a little bit disturbance in voice.
Is it clear now? Hello.
It's okay now. If you can, okay. You are waiting. You are
Yeah.
installing something, I guess.
Yeah, actually, my license is not there. It's an enterprise app, so licensing is not free. You can just view the console like this only. License is expired, so I can just
Okay, then.
guide them, walk them through. Yeah. So guys,
Yeah, yeah.
this is how. Yeah, sure. So guys, this is how the console look like. I don't have a valid license because it's not a freeware. It requires to buy a license from the Splunk website. Mine has been expired, so I'm just walking you through the console how it looks like. So this is the Splunk console. Okay, here you have to write your search queries. Okay, first thing is you should have data into the Splunk. Then only it will be searchable. Okay, once you have put the data into the Splunk, and there are multiple methods. Just I'm giving an example of this small Splunk enterprise, how to put a data into the Splunk. So here is the settings tab. Here is the option of add data. So you click it if it works. So for example, on this, I have installed it on my base machine. Okay, I can upload the files from the computer, or I can receive from a forwarder. I can also upload files. For example, let's take an example of any of the file, Splunk is able to ingest any of the file. Okay. For example, if I want to upload this new text document, it can upload it as well. See, it can ingest it and you can make it searchable also. That's the power of Splunk. Okay. Once you have data, you'll go to this search and reporting app. You have to write your queries. Okay. And then search your data. For example, I'm just giving example. For example, there is data from the firewall available. I'll be writing my search like this. Okay, just for the sake of simplicity, data is present. I want to search for a particular IP address. I'll be writing my query like this. IP is equal to, I know the IP 10.10.10.1. And I want to see the logs of past 20 days, or you can say past 7 days. I can drop down this time frame here. I can select the last 7 days data. Or for example, this is a related time, it will be fixed time. I want to search the real-time data. For example, continuously a forwarder that is deployed on a firewall or any of the web server is sending data. I want to see the data and continuously in real time. I can select this option. Or for example, if I know that there is a specific time range for which I want to search the data, I'll click on this date and range. Here it is giving multiple options. Since here for example, this between my team want to search for the data that is from July 1st to, you can say, 23rd July. Apply it, the query will run for this time frame. Or for example, if you have a specific time frame also, you can just come here at the date and time range, select between. I want to search, for example, from July 1st 12 p.m. to July, or you can say September 23rd. I want to search till 1 p.m. of data. I can write my query. And there is a format there, so if you are not putting it in format, so it will show an error automatically. Apply it. If you have the data in Splunk, it will be searchable. Splunk will be able to search it like this. That's how you search the data. If you talk about reports, guys, you can create any type of report. I have previously created multiple reports, so it is searchable right now. Yeah, it is not searchable, but you can create your reports. How to create a report, guys? It is very simple. Everything is very simple in Splunk. So if I come back here, I wrote my queries. For example, source type is equal to firewall. Suppose firewall data was there, and IP attacker IP was, let's say, 10.1.1.1. Now I want to save it as a report. Okay, it's very easy. Once you run a search, it is not searchable right now. You will see an option of saving it as a report or it adding it to a dashboard panel. Okay, and one more thing, whatever results are there, it's very easy, guys. So the searches are very easy, very flexible. Just put your data, you will get your data, and from here you can add it to either a report or a dashboard panel. Okay, or you want to create an alert, you can create that alert as well. So the main thing here is, guys, capturing the query. If you understand the query, so people ask me that whether it is using SQL, whether the queries are related to any other language. No, the queries are not related to anything, not SQL. It is not SQL. It is just simple Splunk language, you can say. Okay, so if I show you my past queries, yeah. So these are the query format that I run last time. It is just simple. It is not an SQL, nothing. It's just simple Splunk language. For learning this, for understanding this, you have to go through a course. Let me explain also that to you. Just 1 second. Let me just complete this part. So here are alerts. So whenever you are creating alerts, you will be able to select here. Alerts tab is, this is the reports panel here. This is the dashboard panel here. Whatever dashboards you are creating, it will be saved there and it will be populated. Here are the settings tab. If you want to add any kind of new data, you can add it from here. Then there are multiple settings available here. And let me just show you one thing also. It's possible. So we are monitoring other devices with the help of Splunk. I already told you that firewall is sending log, multiple devices are sending log. how to monitor our Splunk instance, that whether its health is okay, whether everything is okay or not. This is the monitoring console. This is where you come. So here is the health check option. The predefined health check are present here. That license is expired, indexing, there is an error in indexing, license warning, any missing forwarder, multiple things are written here, guys. If you want to do a health check of your Splunk instance, you can easily come here and check it. This is the most important thing, the checking or the health check of this Splunk. There are multiple queries, multiple dashboards available. So if I want to show you quickly, it's possible. N number of dashboards. Guys, Splunk is known for its dashboard. We'll create a number of dashboards. It is not loading right now. So guys, these all are dashboard. It is taking time to populate. See, N number of dashboards are available. For example, top 20 memory consuming searches. It is giving me the name of the user that ran the search. Timing is also available and number of information. Historical chart aggregation, you can see this data, ad hoc searches, data model, reports, a number of information is coming in. So let's talk about, for example, if you talk about indexing, anything related to indexing, all these are this dashboards for you for the health performance. Let me open this. So these are pre-created dashboard related to health. If you want to create your own, you must know the search query. So this is an overview of the index that is present on this one. Index is a short storage, you can see. Multiple dashboards available. Okay. So guys, any point of time, you want to restart your Splunk, okay, you can come here in the server controls and restart your Splunk. Here. Apart from this, guys, if you are using an AD server, there are, guys, multiple options. It's very flexible. If there is an AD server in your organization, you don't want user. For example, I'm a user. I logged out. I'm a local user on this machine. I'm using my own username and password. You don't want this stuff. You want that it should be integrated with the LDAP server or the AD server in your organization. Settings tab here. Here is the authentication method. Click on that. Here is the option of LDAP or SAML. You want to integrate with LDAP, just click on this one. Take the information from the I've already integrated with that one. Take the information from the AD team, fill this form, and your Splunk will be integrated with the LDAP. There are some prerequisites that you have to check the website. You want to enable the multi-factor authentication also. You can enable the Duo security or RSA security. It will be multi-factor authentication also on this. Apart from LDAP, I can do multi-factor authentication also. This is Splunk authentication internal. The local users, it can't be disabled. It should be enabled all the time. Okay. And here is the messages tab. So whenever there is any activity happening or a restart is required, it will show you here in the messages tab. For example, here it was when I was doing testing, this daily indexing volume limit exceed. All the errors, you guys will be, it will be shown here. Okay. Apart from this, yeah, let me walk you through the one more important thing, guys. This is all about the console, how it looks like. It is similar, whether it's an index or whether it's a search. This console will be similar. Now let's talk about the course content, what you have to go through and how you will learn Splunk. So the strategy to learn Splunk and how to go through it. And what all are the certification if you are going for this Splunk. Yeah, let me open a WordPad for your simplicity. Now, guys, if you are learning Splunk, what all are the steps? How to approach it? So, guys, there are few courses that you can take if you want to learn Splunk. The first one is the Splunk user, and then we have Splunk power user, and then we have Splunk admin. So let me give you a high level overview what this Splunk user and what you will be learning in Splunk power user. So guys, Splunk user and Splunk power user are are the modules that will be stick to the search it. For example, this panel here, search and reporting. At a high level, you will be learning how to write efficient searches, how to create alerts, how to create dashboard reports. There are n number of things, guys. There are lookups are there, how to integrate threat intelligence data, n number of things are there. Everything you will be learning in this two course. And one more thing, so this is, I'm just giving you the courses, and separate certifications are also available. Splunk user certification is there, then Splunk power user certification is there. So I'll let you know the costing also. So the costing is 8K for all of them. I think right now discount is going on. 8K INR is the costing for the certification if you want to do the certification part. So the costing is, I think right now is very less due to Corona season. If you want, you can go. Then we have the admin certification. Now what we will be learning in the admin part. So in the Splunk admin part, we will be learning the administration. What I mean by administration is, just one second. Yeah. So in the Splunk administration part, what you guys will be learning is, you will be learning how to maintain a Splunk in a production environment, how to deploy an indexer, how to deploy a clustered indexer, 3-4 indexers in cluster so the data is in sync. Okay, how to deploy a forwarder, how to get the data from the end device, deploy a forwarder, how this parsing is working, how this Splunk is converting data into a human readable format. That parser, you will learn how to write a parser. Okay, then you will learn how to maintain a search head, what all things are there, to what all configuration files you will be touching when you are making an indexer or making an search head or making a forwarder, what all configuration files are there. Okay, then you will be learning more about clustering. Clustering can happen at the indexer layer as well as at the search head layer. So that for example, when I'm talking about indexing and this clustering at indexer layer is, I don't want to lose data. One of my indexer goes down, there should be another indexer. That's what I'm talking about, clustering an indexer. There can be 3 indexers running having the same data, so that one of them goes down, there is another indexer already available, and have time to bring in one more indexer or another indexer or fix the issue on that indexer that goes down. Then the clustering at the search head layer, there are 3 searched or 4 searched based on the capacity or based on the users that are logging in. For example, if you have a big organization, you need 3 searched at least. For example, if you are a very small organization, there are 2-3 people, work can go ahead with even search it, but not clustering is not recorded the search it. So how to maintain a search it, what all things are there, what all configuration files are there, everything, all those things in crux you will see um, through with the help of this Splunk admin training. Okay, and when we are talking about the certification, again we have the Splunk admin certification, and all these again 8K, it is the standard amount, it is less, right? All these certification are MCQ, multiple choice question you will be seeing. And if you move ahead, Splunk has released some advanced courses also. There is Splunk advanced power user. So you can check their website, you will see all of them. The advanced power user, you will be learning advanced dashboards and advanced queries in that. Then the last and the most important, the end, I think you can say it's not an end, but if you are at an admin role managing Splunk, there is an important certification called Splunk Core Consultant. So it's a practical lab of 24 hours. So this is also a very great certification. So if you are looking ahead to master this Splunk, this is one of the certification. Now there are more courses, guys. So n number of things are there. So if I talk about SOAR platform, I don't know you have heard about it or not. So SOAR is a platform that is trending in the market. So there are a Demisto tool. Demisto is there in the market that is trending for SOAR. What a SOAR is, you can say, an orchestration and automation platform. What I mean by it is, so let's just take an example of simple Splunk. An incident got triggered for failed login attempt on Splunk. Okay, ticket will be assigned to the analyst working on it. An analyst will be working with the Windows team to block that user or check that user. That's the normal operation. Now, if I talk about SOAR, what is happening? If there is a SOAR solution integrated with Splunk, what will happen? A ticket got triggered for the same user. Now I already have a pre-written playbooks on the SOAR. What will happen? So for example, on same alert triggered that a person did a failed login on that machine 50 times. Through SOAR integration, the user will automatically be blocked. Automation is coming into picture. Okay, so there is more certification, guys. So in this Splunk is having an inbuilt SOAR platform, and that is called as Splunk Phantom. Again, certification and all the things are available for it also. It's a SOAR platform. Then on Splunk, to manage the security incidents to alerts. Okay, so for example, I can say a ticketing system. If you want a ticketing system on Splunk itself, you don't want to go to the since for example in production environment there will be multiple alerts triggering. You want to manage them centrally. There is again one more application, and that is very much used, Splunk Enterprise Security. I don't know if you have heard about it or not. So if you are using Splunk as a security solution, Splunk Enterprise Security should be there. This is what will make it as a complete SIM, you can say. Again, separate certification, everything is available for it. Similarly, there are guys multiple certification available on this Splunk website. If you go there, there are n number of certification, n number of things are available. This Splunk is very, you can say, flexible. N number of things are integrating with them, and you can utilize it at its best. Okay, I'm telling about you about some of the certification. If you go to the website, I think so you will see around 10 to 15. Let me show it to you. Splunk website also. Splunk certification and learning path. So guys, people don't go for the official trainings. Actually, the trainings are very costly. Cost around more than 2 lakh for a single person. Certifications are less. Yeah, so training and certification is there are multiple courses available, multiple things are there, learning paths. You can see Splunk Phantom, ITSI is there, IT Service Intelligence, Enterprise Security, Signal FX. N number of things are coming into the picture, guys. There are n number. They are changing Splunk, they are adapting it, they are making it more efficient, they are doing research, they are bringing in new things into Splunk. For example, this courses for Signal FX, it was not there past 6 months. I have not seen it. I don't know what it is. I have to learn it also. They are making so much changes. They are adapting it so that it will be the best tool in the market. And guys, if you have any question, anything, they have a separate website called SplunkAnswers.com. If you are stuck anywhere, you can easily come on this website, post your question on this Splunk. There is a separate community for Splunk. You are stuck anywhere on this Splunk, you have any kind of doubt, just come here, write your query, someone will answer within, you can say, 8 hours. That's the power and that's the community of Splunk. 8,000 people are there. And guys, this is where Splunk is at the edge. Things are easily available. Courses are structured. Course is very structured. If you go through the courses, go through the certification, you will learn things. Okay. If you have any doubt, you go to this Splunk answers, you will get your answers also. So the thing is, it's very flexible. Things are easily available. Trainings are also available. With other tools, this is not the case. I have worked on ArcSight also. ArcSight has kept the documentation to themselves. If you have paid for the license, you have everything, you raise a ticket with them, then only they will give you certain documents or any help. And the community is also not very big for other tools. You have to struggle a lot to get a solution. And with Splunk, this is not the case. So guys, I think I'm almost done with my session. So last 15 minutes are for Q&A. So Satakshi and Ashish will make the presenter so that I can receive the questions from the members. Guys, over to you. Please drop your questions if you have any in the chat window so that I can answer them.
Shahrukh, can you see the questions tab just below the polls?
Just 1 second. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so there is one question from Lakshmi. So how to master AQL query for Splunk? So the simple answer is there is a structured course created for Splunk. The name is Splunk User and Power User, and under it there are two trainings: Splunk Fundamental 1 and Fundamental 2. Go through it, you will understand it. So that's the solution. Go through the course.
Shahrukh, on the corner of that tab, there is a box with a diagonal. If you click on that, it will pop out, and there is 3-4 questions, 2-3 questions are more there.
There is one only I can see.
Just click on that rectangle with a diagonal. Just click on that, it will pop out, and you can see.
Just 1 second. Okay, I got it. So the next question is how to crack admin and user Splunk certification and material related to studies, some good books. So guys, there are no good books. Actually, you have to. So books are not there. There are too much data available online, and also you can train with us. At Splunk people also offering the Splunk related trainings. And for cracking the exam, the thing that I can say is you don't need book. 30% is book, rest 70% is practical. So questions will be asked based on practical knowledge. If you have worked on Splunk, for example, in the labs, in our labs, you have worked on it, you have installed Splunk, you can answer them easily. But if you are not having a practical experience of learning Splunk, yes, it is a problem. It will be hard to crack the exam. So the next question is, please share some details about certification. Lakshmi, I already shared. I think you posted it at 403. Yeah, I answered it. So there are three to four layers of certification and more: Splunk user, Splunk power user, Splunk admin, and Splunk architect. So that's the thing. We do have logical operates, right? Yeah, logical operators are there, and or gates are there. There are equal to sign, not equal to sign. Everything there is the domain, as you can see, the scope is very much, guys. So if you are learning this Splunk query language, n number of commands are there. There are n number of commands that I haven't learned till now. N number of commands are there. N number of queries are there. You can manipulate it. You can modify it according to your requirement. Any other question, guys? I have answered all of them. Guys, I'll wait for 2 more minutes. If you don't have any doubt, we can close the session for today. The recording of this webinar will be posted. I think you have to, Ashish, can you answer it? There is one question from Lakshmi.
Yes, sir. Then in couple of days you can get the recording and materials as well.
Okay. Is there any workshop will be conducted by Splunk on Spring? I'm not able to understand your question. Okay. Is there any workshop will be conducted by Splunk? Venkatesha, what is the requirement exactly? I'm not able to understand. Can you rephrase your question, please? Ashish, I think we are good to close the session. I don't see any further questions.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs, and thank you, guys. So we will share the recordings and all the details in a couple of days. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Bye bye. Have a nice day.